And joining me now is Chuck Rosenberg, former U.S. attorney and senior FBI official, and Michael Steele, former RNC chairman. And, you know, Chuck, I want to go on this first because, look, it's not as if Rudy Giuliani is completely, you know, untutored in these things. He used to be a federal prosecutor himself. So he knows good and well how you get a warrant to do a search, you know, to how you get a search warrant. What do you make of his pretense that what the FBI should have done was allow him to tell them what they could take, leave his iCloud alone, and he would say, well, this is the stuff you need to take. Here, take these laptops that are Hunter Biden's or whatever.
Yeah, complete nonsense, Joy. So let me tell your viewers how it actually works in case they want to credit anything Mr. Giuliani says. By the way, they should not. You noted that a federal judge determines whether there's probable cause that a crime has been committed and whether you're going to find the stuff that you're looking for in the place that you asked to search. That's it. When Mr. Giuliani said, well, you know, they need to be able to demonstrate that I would have destroyed evidence or altered it in some way. Absolutely, completely false. Not part of the inquiry that the judge conducts. Moreover, the FBI would never rely on a target or a subject of an investigation to give them the stuff that that target thinks they need to conduct the investigation. That's crazy, right? It's sort of what Ronald Reagan once said, trust but verify. You go out, you get the stuff you need, you do it by executing lawful search warrants authorized by a federal judge. Then, if they have questions for Mr. Giuliani, and if he wants to speak with them, they can do it on the FBI's terms when they've reviewed all of his stuff. He is a former federal prosecutor. He has no idea what he's talking about, or he knows well enough, but he's just making it up.
Right. I mean, presumably he used to go and attempt to get these same exact kinds of warrants. He knows exactly, he should at least, unless maybe he's having memory lapse. Here's his son, Michael, Andrew Giuliani, being put in quite a little bit of a pickle politically, being asked to choose between dear old dad and the Republican Party's daddy.
Would your father turn on Trump to protect himself if that's what it takes?
No, I mean, there is, I don't really know how to respond to this because it's a theoretical. You know, my father represented the president in good faith, and I don't, you know, this is all theoretical. If there was something that illegal that happened, there's nothing illegal that happened.
Can you make any sense of what kid who got job he didn't deserve in Trump administration has to say?
No, it was very clear. He realized that he was between his daddy and Donald Trump, and it was just not a good place to be at that moment. This isn't theoretical. It's legal. And as Chuck just expertly laid out, the basis for that judge's decision to let this go forward through a warrant, there must be something there. So the question then does fall back on Mr. Giuliani. At what point does this become serious enough that he decides that, well, maybe I should protect myself a little bit more, because you can be damn skippy. Donald Trump is not about to protect him. That's just that's not in the cards. So there does become a calculation point where the feds come to him and go, okay, this is what we have. And we're getting more. What do you want to do? How do you want to play this? And I think that's that moment for his son where he realizes, okay, I'm just going to step off of this ledge and try to find some solid ground to stand on here, because he knows it's not good. This does not proceed, as Chuck knows and as Rudy very well knows, without substance to it. And what you heard on Fox was just the Trumpian clarion call of disinformation around legalities and facts and information and warrants that we've seen in the past. Unfortunately, you don't have the presidency to protect you here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about someone else, because there are a lot of people who are posting and reminding folks, and journalists were posting about some previous stories that seem to tie into this as well. Let's talk about Ron Johnson, Chuck. This is from the Washington Post. Apparently, the FBI also warned him. The FBI last summer also gave what is known as a defensive briefing to Senator Ron Johnson, who used his perch as chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee to investigate Biden's dealings with Ukraine. However, Johnson said Thursday, he says there was no substance to their cautionary message. Should Ron Johnson be concerned? Because it seems that he was also in the know from the FBI, and he, like Rudy, dismissed these national security concerns?
Yeah, it's a great question, Joy. So let me just give your viewers a little bit of context. Defensive briefings are not that uncommon. Let's say a businesswoman is traveling to a part of the world where our adversaries would like to know what she knows or might approach her. And the FBI learns of that. They would give her a defensive briefing. So that happens fairly routinely. The really interesting thing is, what do the folks who get these defensive briefings do with that information? Overwhelmingly, what they do is they say to the FBI, thank you, understood, got it. I'll be careful. And then when they come back, they might debrief with the FBI to see whether or not they were approached. Overwhelmingly, people want to help and do the right thing. So the interesting question to me, Joy, is not whether or not they receive defensive briefings. Again, that happens fairly routinely. It's what do they do afterwards? How do they treat that information? Do they take it to heart, or are they cavalier? And as you pointed out in your lead-in, Giuliani continued to meet with Russian officials and Ukrainian officials after he got the defensive briefing.
Yeah, and Ron Johnson continued to peddle what turns out to be, precisely along the lines of Russian disinformation afterwards as well. Let's go to the Gilligan, to Donald Trump's skipper, Matt Gaetz. Daily Beast reports that Joel Greenberg, who's his supposed former bestie, wrote what is the strangest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life, a confessional letter in which he was trying to obtain a pardon. A confessional letter written by Joel Greenberg, according to the Daily Beast, in the final months of the Trump presidency, claims that he and close associate Representative Matt Gaetz paid for sex with multiple women, as well as a girl who was 17 years old at the time. The letter, which the Daily Beast recently obtained, was written after Greenberg, who was under federal indictment, asked Roger Stone to help him secure a pardon from Donald Trump. Greenberg said that they believed the girl was 19 at the time, but then warned Gaetz, so he says, that she was actually underage. Gaetz has issued his similar statement. While the Daily Beast story contains a lot of confessions from Mr. Greenberg, it does not add anything of substance, no evidence of the wild and false claims, blah, 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 blah. Chuck Rosenberg first, and then Michael Steele. But Chuck, very quickly, have you ever heard of somebody saying, here are all my crimes, I wrote them down, can I have a pardon? Is that the way it works?
This is absolutely nuts. If Greenberg were to go to trial, you mark this letter as Exhibit 1. In fact, it makes it almost impossible for him to go to trial because he's confessed to at least this type of crime. It's just crazy, Joy.
If you would do something like that, Michael Steele, having worked in the Republican world, would you ever give something like that to Roger Stone?
No.
Let him see that?
No. First of all, you don't do stuff like that. But look, this Gaetz stuff is messy. And a lot of Republicans, there's a lot of splatter that's going to come up on this thing because, as this storyline unfolds and these confessions start coming out, where do you go as a Republican? And this guy's supposed to go on a road show with Marjorie Taylor Greene to go after rhinos. Well, y'all better sit your behinds back at home and figure out how you're going to pay your legal bills, because you're going to have a lot of them coming up. Oh, that's why you're going on the road show.
Yeah. Oh, it's like their version of it's like Ren and Stimpy, but on the road. It should be really interesting.
Sense now.
Yeah, interesting. Chuck Rosenberg, Michael Steele, thank you both very much.